Without spoiling anything, I can safely say that something happens to Doctor Strange in this movie that will make Loki very happy.
I have been falling for 30 minutes!
I'm just going to say that I have finally passed 1,000 subscribers. 2 years and 4 months, and I am finally there, and I am so happy. So if you are watching and you are not subscribed, make like Doctor Who and press that big red button.
So if I see a great big threatening button which should never ever be pressed, then I just want to do this.
So usually on my channel, I like to go into a little bit more depth with a topic. I usually like to have a thesis for my videos, like not just talking about the movie itself. Like, I like to talk about comic book tropes. I like to compare movies to comics. I like to understand why decisions were made the way they were. Not this time though, we're just talking about the movie. And I don't really care about spoilers all that much, but this is the kind of movie that I think even I could have spoiled for me, so I will give you a warning when I get into spoiler territory. But even so, in the non-spoiler section, I am going to be talking about things that appeared in the promotional material, so if you manage to stay away from it, first of all, congratulations, you're going to have to tell me how you did that. But if you really don't want to know anything, then this video is probably not safe for you. So please go, see the movie, come back, and we can talk. But if you're still here, I did not expect to love this movie as much as I did. The other Spider-Man movies I liked, but the thing is, I'm not really a Spider-Man fan. Don't get me wrong, I like Spider-Man, but I'm not really a fan, and I mean that in the sense of being fanatical. Like, I'm not a fanatic for him like I am for, say, John Constantine or something like that. But I do like him, and the other movies I thought were fun. They were okay, they were fun to watch, but they're not really something I'm going to go away and think all that much about. This one, on the other hand, I was just smiling in my seat the entire time. And not just at the things that they knew were going to get fans in their seats, although definitely that as well. Just everything about this movie was just so enjoyable. And I'm not saying it's a perfect movie, but it was just so well constructed and audience pleasing. And one thing that I really, really want to praise it for was the way they used the things that they knew were going to get fans in their seats. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of movies or TV shows, particularly comic books, that already have a pre-existing fan base, when they have those elements that they know are going to get fans in their seats, they don't really do all that much with them. Some do, but they think just putting them in there is enough. This movie does not do that. The fan elements are not just there, they are the movie. They are the premise of the movie. They are the plot of the movie. And I just really appreciated that because it entertains both casual audiences and rewards fans. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, like, despite not being a fan of the Raimi films, again, I do like them, I just don't consider myself a fan of them. I was just as excited as everyone else when I saw Doc Ock on screen for the first time. Even though I knew he was coming, it was an amazing moment. And may I just say, every single villain that they brought in here, they just did so well. Alfred Molina, Doc Ock, amazing. Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin, amazing. Jamie Foxx, Electro, amazing. And not only do they give their own good performances, but they work off each other so well. And I did not expect that. They worked just on screen together. And another thing that I want to praise No Way Home for is that the fan elements, they don't bring them in right away. Again, if you've seen the promotional material, you'll know that J. Jonah Jameson exposes Spider-Man's identity to the world, and the first, 20 minutes of the movie is just him dealing with it. Just him, his friends, his family, just dealing with the consequences. And also the usual normal stuff that a kid his age is going to deal with, like going back to school, applying for college, just all those things. The first 20 minutes of this film is entirely that. So they give us time to spend with Peter and get to know Peter so that we are with him entirely when he goes to Doctor Strange and asks for that spell. And another thing as well is that this is something I think the other two Spider-Man franchises didn't really get, was Spider-Man being a kid. They got it a little bit in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but in the MCU, they do it incredibly well. Because whenever someone talks to Peter, you feel like it's an adult talking to a child. Not talking down to a child, but talking to a kid.
Please, we saved half the universe together. I think we're beyond you calling me sir.
Okay, Steven.
That feels weird, but I'll allow it.
And also, when everything gets messed up, you feel as though it's a kid's mistake. Not to mention the fact that the good things that happen in this movie, the things that they do right and morally right, it feels like it comes from the heart of a good kid. And that is something that I don't think the other two films got down at least nearly as well as this one does. You can feel the naivety of these decisions, and sometimes it brings about really bad results. But sometimes that kind of innocence can bring about really good results. And you kind of feel that. You want to have that innocence again. You want to have that kind of naive hope that things will turn out the same way Peter does. So yeah, I just loved this movie. I really, really did. It was not what I expected. I don't know what I expected. Maybe just a little bit of fan squealing, a fun time, but this really, really made you think. And that is what the best MCU movies do. I'd say no MCU movie is perfect. There are a lot of quite questionable decisions. There are a lot of cop-outs in the MCU. But this one, like, again, to get into non-specific spoilers, okay? So this is I'm not going to talk about what actually happened, but again, get away if you don't want that. But the ending, the way the movie was going, it felt as though you needed to have consequences. Like, there is a difficult balancing act between it being satisfying because we want our hero to succeed, we want our hero to go on, we want them to be happy, we want them to get everything they want. But at the same time, that's a cop-out. A lot of MCU movies have kind of dropped the ball on that one. So it's a balancing act between being satisfying but also having consequences, meaningful consequences. And this movie, without saying specifically what they are, they found that balance really, really well. Okay, and now we're getting into spoiler territory, and I am talking milk that has been in the fridge for 2 months levels of spoiled. So get out of here right now if you don't want to hear any of that. Still here? Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield appearing on screen with Tom Holland. Again, I kind of knew this was going to happen, but I didn't really have much internalized excitement for it because I thought it's just going to be like a fan thing. They're going to throw it in there, but they didn't. They did something with it, and they did something amazing with it. Just the things that MCU Peter is going through, these older Peters have already been through in different ways, and they use that. They use it so well. Just when Aunt May dies, and my god, I did not expect Aunt May to die. Talk about consequences, but just, that was heartbreaking, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But when Spider-Man, MCU Spider-Man, is feeling all these emotions, saying, I want to kill him, I want to rip his head off, I want revenge. Tobey Maguire Peter's saying, I felt like that. I mean, I lost my Uncle Ben, and it was my fault. Just like how MCU Peter bears a certain amount of responsibility for Aunt May dying. And Andrew Garfield Spider-Man says, I lost Gwen, she was my MJ, she was right there in front of me, I couldn't save her. And we all remember that scene. I know a lot of people come down hard on Amazing Spider-Man, but I think a lot of people can agree that that scene where Gwen dies, just no matter what you thought of those movies, it broke your heart. And just to evoke that in the minds of people who have seen those movies, and that is the kind of thing I'm talking about when I say that if you are a casual viewer, not knowing that isn't going to ruin the movie for you. You can still get that this Peter is in pain and he's lost someone he loves, so it's not going to ruin the characterization or the plot or anything, but if you do know it, it rewards you. And that is a difficult balancing act to strike, and they struck it beautifully. And Aunt May's death, like, again, I did not expect them to do that. I really did not expect that, and Tom Holland's acting, I have always thought he was an amazing Spider-Man. Even though he's not the amazing Spider-Man. I promise that was an accident. Tom Holland is a fantastic Spider-Man. And I first felt that in Spider-Man Homecoming, when he was trapped under all that rubble, and he was starting to panic. He was really, really scared. And again, it feels like he's not this massive, powerful, world-saving superhero. He's a high school kid who has these amazing powers and is being put in a situation where he feels like he has the responsibility to use them. But they don't immediately turn him into this hardened vigilante or hardened superhero. He's still a little boy. And when Peter was trapped under all that rubble in that movie, and I felt his fear and I felt his pain, and this was exactly the same when Aunt May died. Just the way he was looking at her, the way he started panicking, and then he went into denial, and just, it wasn't a very long scene, but it got across everything Peter was thinking in that moment, and just, yeah, it broke my heart. It genuinely broke my heart. And the climax where all three Spider-Men are trying to coordinate and take out the villains, it had action, it had excitement, it had humor, but not intrusive humor like Marvel sometimes has. The humor that these Peters have together is just built entirely on their chemistry, and just also the confusion over, okay, you're talking to Peter, which Peter are you talking to? It feels organic, it feels natural, it feels like what these Spider-Men would actually be like if they met each other. So it's not just your regular Marvel punch-up, they do a lot with it. And after the battle, the final consequence, in order to stop the multiverse kind of breaking through into their universe, everybody forgets about Peter. And Peter is left at the end completely alone. I feel like I want to cry just thinking about it. But the usual MCU brightness carries it forward, makes it feel hopeful even then. So, yeah, the more I think about this movie, the more I just fall so deeply in love with it. So, I saw it yesterday with my dad. I'm going to see it again on Sunday with my friends. And if I have anything new to say, I'll say it. But for now, yeah, go see Spider-Man No Way Home. Because it really lives up to his title, No Way Home. Spider-Man can't go home again. No, don't go. End credit scene. End credit scene. This is a Marvel video. I really hope you didn't click off there. So we're going to talk about the mid-credit scene, which I would say is probably the only disappointing thing about the movie. Not the scene itself. I mean, seeing Tom Hardy on screen playing Venom, like I would spend money just to watch him drinking in that bar, him and Venom just babbling on. I would pay money for that. But when all the other villains get sent back to their own universes, so does Venom. Obviously, for storytelling purposes, that makes sense. But that means that we're not going to be seeing them again, at least in the current form. Because they do leave behind a little bit of Venom goo, so we are going to be seeing the character Venom in the MCU, but is it going to be Tom Hardy? Because now I can't see anyone else other than Tom Hardy being Venom. Just, again, watching him on screen, because he plays both Eddie Brock and Venom, so because the Venom movies aren't that great, I really just buy the ticket to spend an hour and a half watching a guy talk to himself. That is why those movies are so good, because of Tom Hardy. And now I can't see anyone else other than him playing Venom. And yes, we need new interpretations. That's the purpose of the multiverse. There are multiple versions, all of whom have their value. That's what I love about the multiverse. But just, we need more Tom Hardy. At the very least, I need more Tom Hardy. So, yeah, that was the only thing that I thought was kind of disappointing, because when Venom is in the bar and they're talking about them just kind of ending up there, they said, maybe I should go have a talk with this Spider-Man. And then he blips out of existence, goes back to his own universe. And to dangle that carrot in front of us and then yank it away like that, that is so cruel. But again, for the storytelling to make sense, it had to happen. I don't know if Sony is willing to share Venom, at least Tom Hardy Venom, for anything other than that mid-credit scene. Still, it just... Yeah, I'm salty about that one. Thanks, everyone. I'm hoping to get another video out before Christmas. It'll be a very short, bare bones one, much like this, but I really want to do something a little Christmassy themed, so we'll see what I come up with. In the meantime, go see Spider-Man No Way From Home. And if you've seen it, go see it again.